What is up, nerds? I've got a really fun unboxing for you today. We've got a fun video coming up that's going to happen on the water, comparing and contrasting some of your favorite brands, or brands at least that you've been looking for on Tackle Warehouse. Today, we've got a couple of boxes that came in from TW that include the expensive and the cheap or cheap-ish version of topwater baits that we know and love. So we've got some walking baits, we've got some crawlers, we've got some buzz baits, we've got some poppers, we've got all sorts of stuff. And of course we've got frogs. So we're gonna be looking at brands like your Megabass, your Evergreens, your Tackles, all of those typically very expensive baits that you can get, as well as some new ones maybe you haven't heard of, versus your inexpensive brands. You're gonna see your Berkeleys in here, you're gonna see your Scum Frogs, we've even got some Monster Bass stuff that we'll compare to later, stuff that we've already had in our tackle, brands like Headin, all those different brands, things that you would think of as, normally very affordable off the shelf at any store you go to or on TW. So we've got these brands to compare. Today, we're just gonna do a quick unbox of them and we're gonna compare and contrast just the first looks. How do they look? The fit and finish of these baits, one versus the other, cheap versus expensive. And then stay tuned, stay subscribed for that future video where we put them to the test. Paul will be fishing one, I'll be fishing the other. Cheap versus expensive. We'll roll the dice to see who gets which one. And maybe has a better day, we don't know. Which ones perform better? As always, as we go through these baits right now, let me know in the comments below, what do you guys think? Which is better, the cheap one or the expensive one? And if you've had experience with both, let me know why you feel one way or the other. Should be a lot of fun. Let's dive into it. I feel like we just start with the big one right off the top and we go with the frogs. So we have two frogs here. They're hollow body. They catch fish in the pads. They catch fish in the slop. They both are known for catching fish, but one is more than double the price. It's 2.5 times the price of the other. So is it worth it? Let's take a look. Okay, so I got my pricing sheet as I go through these as well. So this is the Megabass Big Gabbit. The Big Gabbit, Big Gabbo. I can't wait till somebody yells at me for mispronouncing it or whatever. But the Big Gabbit, a frog that I've seen before and I've just never even considered buying. You know why? Because it's $16. $16. So I lied, actually. The Megabass is 3x the price of that Scum Frog. The Scum Frog is $4.99. And the good old Big Gabbit here is $15.99. Good grief, that's a lot of money for a frog. I don't know about you guys, but that already hurts my wallet quite a bit. I mean, it definitely looks good. Check this out. A couple things to note about fit and finish comparing to other cheap frogs. This is a Z-Man frog right here, for example. You'll notice that we have the skirt going through these two side points here versus this one little singular pitch point, which is kind of cool. And also, it's quite a bit shorter, standard, so we don't have to trim it as much. Added bonus, they do mention on the package, allegedly, we'll see how this plays out, that this positioning gives it better balance. But as far as the mouth goes, you'll notice that it's a catamaran mouth. Now, I've seen frogs like this before, never really thought too much about it, but what they say on their packaging from Megabass is that, one, obviously looks kind of like a popping frog. It's gonna allow you to spit and move water, get some bubbling going, things like that. They also say that it is better for pinpoint turns. So if you want to get that frog walking, should be easier to do with a mouth like this. We'll find out. These frogs are also hand painted, so I mean, they're gonna look like really good. I mean, look at this thing. It's heckin' beautiful. Love the black and chartreuse as well. Definitely among my favorite frog colors. So love it. Absolutely love that frog. I mean, it's nothing if not a gosh dang good looking frog. So next up, what are we comparing it to? The cheap version. Just a good old-fashioned green pumpkin Scum Frog. This is like the classic, the cheapest one that they make, I believe. There's probably something cheaper that I missed. This is what I found as the cheapest on TW by searching by price. Scum Frog, I've used them before. They make some really nice frogs for not a lot of money. Even their like higher end, like the trophies, the launch frog, like that kind of stuff, those series, not that expensive, very affordable. They use some different materials. They have like this very unique shape that you really only see with Scum, but check this out. So it's super plush, which by the way, that Big Gabbit, much more dense frog. Very plush frog here with the Scum. This one is hyper dense. Let's say the Big Gabbit probably has a stouter hook, just by a little bit. And the hook angle is quite a bit different. So the Scum Frog, you can see, has like this sharp angle point right there. Not sure what that's gonna do for us, good or bad. But other than that, it's just a super basic hollow body design. Check this out. So Hooks just sit on top, no recession there or anything. We've got a single skirt coming out the back. Eyes that were basically just slapped on there. So, you know, not pretty. You can see like this eye on this side is much lower in that recession than this one. Again, these are the fit and finish points that might not matter at all when it comes to catching fish. So just things you see as a fisherman when you look at it on the wall rack or whatever. Other than that though, I mean, it's designed for frog purposes, so we're gonna go ahead and fish it. Not the prettiest thing in the world. Can it catch fish? Absolutely, I already know that. And we'll find out when we hit the water. But which one is gonna have a better time? And don't worry, we have other cheap frogs that we can throw. If you're gonna say like, oh, but the big gabbit's like way bigger than that scum frog, I hear you, then we'll throw a bigger frog. I've got plenty of them and they're all cheap, so we can find another cheap one. So there's the frogs out of the way. Let's go to the next type of bait. One of my absolute favorite ways to fish would be a topwater walking bait. So take something like the classic Zara Spook, which we can definitely compare to this as well, or take this super fancy Teckle 10-year edition. This was $20 freaking right here. $20.99 to be exact. Comes in a whole bunch of nice custom colors. It looks beautiful. It looks to me more like a collector's edition that should go up on a wall and not be fished, but that's not what we do on this channel. We're gonna fish it for sure. Teckle kick knocker here is absolutely beautiful. It's called Born to be Bone. So obviously that's the color we picked. I'm loving it. It does also say, it's gonna be hard to see in the light there, 10-year anniversary up on top. So that's pretty cool. And we're comparing that $20.99 bait to this Berkley Jaywalker. This is another type of walking bait, more of the classic style, and it is $9.99. So the question really is, for your catch, do you want to spend $20.99 or $10? It's double the price, man. So let's find out how these both look side by side. Again, we're just going relative size. The action is more important to us when we get them out on the water and test these things out. And we have a ton of these different types of baits so we can compare to all sorts of stuff. For example, the KVD Sexy Dog might be a better comparison for this. And we can do that. So here's the Berkley, and we just went for this like nice chill bone ghost type color. It does have the sparkle finish on the bottom. Paul and I tend to agree on this. I'm not a huge fan of the sparkle finish because it just looks like, you know, what it is. Somebody just slapped it on there, glued it up, and there we go. Sometimes it looks better than other times. This looks fine. I think it gives a nice little reflection that could be seen on the surface by fish. That's pretty cool. And I also noticed too, the top area of this bait is tapered in. Not sure what that does for me with balance as far as walking goes. You can always tell if it's a good walking bait or a bad walking bait by how well it walks by itself without you having to do too much. So if you're really having to finesse that cadence with your twitch and you're having a tough time getting it to get your back and forth swish swish motion, that's when I see it as a problematic walking bait. If it basically walks itself, and we've had a few examples of that we use on the channel, the KVD Sexy Dog is a great example of it, the Monster Bass Patriot 3.0, the 6 Sense Catwalk, all sorts of different brands. We've used them all, we've tried them all. There are some that walk better than others by themselves. The Arc Blower, one of my all-time favorites. And then we got that Teckle right here. Love the bone design. It's absolutely insane. I really hope I don't lose this or break this while fishing it. And I'm noticing something right off the bat. Anytime I see this recession on a walking bait, I already know it's gonna walk itself. It is gonna have amazing action. It's gonna work really well as long as it's balanced. And for $21, it better be balanced. Hooks look similar on both of them. Nobody's using anything super fancy. I will say, obviously, the finish on the Teckle is, you know, it's better. It's just better. It just looks a lot better. It's kind of a matte finish as well. And then that Berkley is more than just that classic walking bait. A hard knock and a rattle in the Teckle to just the hard knock in that Berkley. So interesting, both of that lighter colorway. So we'll see which performs better on the water. So as we were shopping, we were looking for kind of like wake baits. We ended up jumping off of wake baits to more like Jitterbug style baits. And I mean, there is the original Jitterbug, obviously, that we could use. So why not go with the original Jitterbug brand, Arbogast, and use one of their newer models. So we have a little jointed model. Now, this was kind of the upgraded cheap bait. This is still $7.49 for this whole package. You get this crazy tied rear treble, you get a jointed body, you get this incredible Hulk color design. obviously we had to go with the chartreuse and purple. And then you have the classic design metal jitterbug lip. So we're getting that crazy erratic kind of spitting, moving action that we're gonna get out of this. These things are sweet. They've been awesome forever. Why not? And then let's compare it to an expensive. I think for what you get, it is definitely expensive because you still have to add stuff to it. Lake Fork Hissy Fit, which has that plastic jitterbug lip to it and is designed to screw lock a worm to the rear end of it. Oh, and by the way, its hooks are frog hooks. So that's interesting. These things are $10.50. That gets you the body, and then obviously you have to pay for worms, so you can just screw lock a worm to it. Luckily, we have plenty of those. It also weighs nothing, I'm just realizing. What does this actually weigh? You get whatever the negligible weight of this is, maybe a 1/4 ounce, maybe less. There's your snake design. I mean, pretty cool snake design, for sure. And there's your plastic lip, so we get this crazy waking action up on the surface. And then we have our screw lock on the rear of the snake head. And then there's your hook. So being that we're dangling a worm back here to make it look like a snake going crazy on the surface, there ain't no way that we're gonna take this hook, somehow skin hook it through the worm. So this is just free dangling, right? So that's just gonna be dragging on the surface. And then we got this worm. I have no idea how this is gonna work. Not a clue in the world. If you guys have used it in the comments below, let me know. Kind of a crazy bait. Kind of a more expensive version of the jitterbug. I mean, at least doing a similar action. Should be interesting. And that's why we went with the longer jointed Arbogast Jitterbug 2.0. Kind of have a similar surface look to it. There we go. So there's your Jitterbug 2.0. Pretty solid cracked pattern up on top. All that really matters for a surface bait though is the belly. So we got a little bit of green that you'll see from the joint. Nice big wide joint, so you're gonna get a ton of movement out of this. You got your metal lip here, kind of crazy. Line tie right there. And look at that. Little purple and green peacock feathers coming off the back of this thing. Look at that, that's crazy. A really cool looking bait. I love the way that they tie these things actually, look at that. Reminds me of like a fly. They do a pretty good job with that, I feel. Nice finessey hooks. You do every once in a while get weird stuff like that smudge there. I mean, it's a little more cheaply done, maybe even versus the Lake Fork Hissy Fit. I mean, this is just plastic though, so. Keeping with that crazy topwater surface disruption, let's go for some crawlers. You guys ever fished crawlers before? What I'm talking about with that, the standard crawler of all time would be this right here. That is the Head Crazy crawler. So you have these little wings, right, that come off the side. So that's catching water, and it causes it to do this really cool walking action like that, right? So just kind of going back and forth. It also makes a really unique sound. So if you haven't used these, they're very cool. This head-in version runs for $7.99. So pretty affordable. So $7.99. Let's grab a bait that's basically the same as that. And let's buy that. It was $24.99. So this is the Jackal Pompadour Jr. This is a bait that a lot of people rave about. A lot of people. In fact, we bought all this stuff on one of our live podcasts, which we do every Wednesday at 8:15 p.m. Eastern, if you were so inclined and you wanted to join. And as we were going around shopping for topwater baits, this one came up a lot in the chat. It does have a few kind of different things as compared to that head-in that we're gonna look at right now. And they also just call it topwater noisy bait, which it definitely is. It sure do be loud. 2.5 inches, 5/8 of an ounce. The body is almost exactly the same size as that head-in. Check that out. So these are as similar as you can get. We've got wings on both of them. However, a couple differences. The head-in is silent. That Pompadour Jr. ain't silent. It's got a nice rattle to it. Couple cool features. You can already tell that the hinges are quite a bit cheaper on the head-in versus that Jackal. Look at that. That's about as heavy duty as you can make a hinge. I mean, that is pretty insane. And it's got this little tab here that prevents that wing from opening up too much. And also probably could be adjusted so you could do some fancy stuff. Off the rear, you'll also notice that moves. That rear treble is mounted right here and can move back and forth, which is really cool. Head-in still uses the OG of OG hook ties. Look at that. Gosh dang. So they've been using these forever. Totally works, has worked forever. Ain't nothing too wrong with it. Jackal saw that and was like, we can do a lot better. So we got split rings, we got this rear moving piece, and we've got this prop back here. Are you gosh dang kidding me? This thing is nuts. Also, it's got like cute little dimples for some reason. I don't know what that is. But very loud bait. Very good looking bait. I'm excited. This next category you can tell we were excited for because we bought a whole bunch of different things. We're only comparing 2 baits here, but we saw some extras and we both wanted them. So a lot of these, we got 1 of each. And in this category, we got 2 of everything. First off, not comparing this to anything, using this for BFS. So this is a bonus side quest. We've got the Strike King Mini Buzz, or what they call the Pro Buzz Mini. I mean, it's a super basic buzz bait in 1/8 ounce, which is perfect for whipping around on the old BFS, AKA a big freaking scam reel. And check this out, dude. So obviously more compact, smaller little baby guy. Went for black. Black tends to work on Topwater really well here with a silver blade. And then you got your little buzz blade right there. Super simple, super easy, and super effective, and super fun. And they're basically free. That thing was $2.99. So we got 2 of them. What we're really comparing in the buzzbait category though is we have the classic, the Mega Strike Cavatron, which is a sub $8 buzzbait. $7.99 exactly. And we're comparing that to this bad boy right here. The Evergreen Loud Buzz Evergreen Custom Buzzbait. Both in 3/8 of an ounce, probably both awesome. Price-wise though, $7.99 for that Mega Strike. The Evergreen is $16.99. Whew. Okay, so again, over double the price. Look at that, $16.99, $7.99. Well, let's take a look. Always gotta love when you see As Seen on TV with Roland Martin. So, I mean, Roland's throwing it, I guess I should. It is 3/8 of an ounce, and also it is, this is an interesting like little tagline. The slowest buzzbait ever. All right, neat. So the Cavatron, very cool looking buzzbait. It's got kind of a unique like arrowhead shaped, pyramid head looking from Silent Hill kind of jig head up there. It is just band tied, you know, never been a huge fan of that little rubber band on there. It tends to just erode. It dies after a couple of seasons and you got to redo the skirt. Not a big deal, I know. You can just get new skirts. They're not that expensive, but it's just something I think about when I'm buying baits. Nifty little skirt, kind of a unique material to it. Not sure what it's really made of. It doesn't say on the box, but one thing you'll notice is this little bend right here. Seems unique, right? Well, it is, and that's supposedly how this thing can run so slow. Ooh. And that prop dough for $7.99. You also got holes in the prop. Sometimes you'll see that in different buzz baits. Honestly, I would pretend that I know what that means and I have no idea. Fairly new to buzz baits, didn't use them that much, have been using them a ton the last 2 years and catching tons and tons of fish on them. So my assumption would be that it makes it easier to spin in the water. Maybe it causes some bubbles, some unique disruption on the surface, right? Point is, the Cavatron can roll slow. For a buzz bait, that's deadly. Sometimes it's best to burn it if they're really just hyper aggressive and striking. And sometimes it's good to just get them to key in on it. They follow it for a while. This happened to me the other weekend. And if you got a super speedy only buzzbait, like a heavy buzzbait that you have to just crush across the surface, then you're missing bites. They get too close to the boat and they just turn around and say, never mind, I'm fine, I'm good, no thank you, right? So with this, get them lazily following you long enough, you're gonna get that strike. For $7.99, I'm all in. I would buy that in every color. The Evergreen, on the other hand, I sure as heck wouldn't buy in every color because it's super expensive. However, it looks beautiful. So first of all, it comes stapled to a piece of cardboard. Interesting for a bait for $16.99 to come packaged that way, but I'm okay with it. I guess less materials to package. You can already tell they care for their hooks because they've got it covered right there. And instantaneous plus for me is we have a hand-tied skirt. Right? Hand-tied skirts, they just last longer. Material of the skirt feels better than the Cavatron, which, you know, again, at the price point, makes sense. I would expect it to. If it didn't, I'd have a problem. Love this like gold with some dark colors mixed in there. It's green pumpkin, gold and white, and we've got some red sparkly stuff up on top. Jig head, again, another unique shape. Looks pretty cool, like it's gonna be better at planing, getting to plane on top of the water. With a buzzbait, you want it spinning on the surface as soon as heckin' possible. Ooh, and that's also the sound you want. Pretty big blade on here, almost hits that wire there. Sometimes you want that, sometimes you don't. Then we have the wire at a slight angle as well. So again, between the jig head, this wire shape, all of that, seems like it'll get up to plane pretty quick. I like 3/8 of an ounce because it's easier to just get it on top of the surface and get that retrieve going. Very good looking bait. Can't wait to put those two head to head. Oh my gosh, yes. All right, so this next category is very interesting. We were looking for topwater prop baits. So think about your favorite topwater prop bait, if you even use them. Bagley probably comes to mind. It was one that we were thinking about grabbing. I actually have one that I can compare as well. And then we decided to go with two other ones that just looked really interesting. Okay, so this category, cheap versus expensive. The cheap was always gonna be around 10 or so or more dollars. So we ended up going with one that was $12.99 because it was by River to Sea, and I haven't seen it before, and it's in my favorite River to Sea color in Loon. So this one's called the Lane Changer. Yeah, this is interesting. It's Chris Lane series. It has two props, front and back. We're gonna look at that in a second. And we put that against the most expensive bait that we got on this order, which is the Nishine Lure Works Abino? I don't know. 110F topwater. This thing is nuts. First of all, just straight out of the box, well, the box came opened, which was interesting, but all the stuff's in there, so it's totally fine. Right out of the box, though, this thing looks gorgeous. This is one of the best looking baits I've ever seen in my life. Also, it comes with some crazy parts. So I'll just show you this from here because I can't hold up all the parts. Original custom parts. So you got a whole bunch of this little thing, which I have no idea what any of this does, but it's called this special custom made P-blade. The P-blade generates wide rolling action. We've got an outer weight that you could add to this thing. We got a special custom T-blade, which generates tighter rolling actions. T-blade, P-blade, weight, all sorts of stuff. All of which is interchangeable on the body of this bait. And then it comes with some high quality parts right out the gate, dude. They pre-rigged it with the P-blade. So here's your P-blade. I have no idea what this is gonna do other than flashback here. But it looks interesting. But look how good this bait looks. That is, you look at this and you're like, yes, it's definitely a $26 bait. That makes sense. We got heavy duty stuff here. We got a snap, which is great. We got a big old prop up there, big old prop back here, rear treble behind it. That is for sure gonna look good on the water. Oh my gosh, this thing is so cool. And then you got your T-blade and your external weight. So we could swap that out with the P-blade whenever if you want to do something different. All around, big fan of the look, not a big fan of the price. $26.99 is a pretty hefty ticket to pay for this thing, so I'm just saying. But that $27, $26.99 bait is going head to head with a $12.99 bait from the Chris Lane series, River to Sea. Ooh, already, these are plastic props, so that's interesting. Plastic props, odd choice. We got 3 trebles to the 2 trebles on the Nishine. The plastic props, however, not a huge fan of. We'll see how they do on the water though. Still, Loon, great color. Topwater prop bait, around the price that you would expect topwater prop baits like this to be. I'm interested. Do like the hooks on it. I think it came stock with some pretty good hooks. It looks solid. Again, if you put these two head to head, they're like not even in the same class whatsoever. But we'll see. It all comes down to how they do on the water. Side venture, told you there's always side ventures when you go on Tackle Warehouse. Here's one of ours. This is the CL8 bait. I don't know what that means. Anyways, it's the vole. Holy cow, this is a waken rat, or a waken vole. I should say. It's definitely not a rat, but it's like a rat style bait, right? This thing's just gorgeous. Literally only got this because people were calling it out for some reason. We didn't get anything to compare it to because pretty much all the rat baits were about this price. They're about that expensive. So we couldn't really do justice by the point of the order of cheap versus expensive because we couldn't find anything to compare this to. So kind of figured, you know what, let's just get it. It's a really cool bait and let's test it out. Topwater rats, things like that, not something that we're used to using. We do not really use those much at all. So it's an open area for us to learn, which is what we're here for. So it's a surface bait, waken bait, 8 inches long. It is, they have a recommended rod and line on here, 7 foot heavy, 17-pound test line, and it weighs 1 ounce. Look at that. It's got gosh dang whiskers on it. What? That's insane. So we got whiskers, great face design to it, cool little waken lip, And then this tail, which I don't know if it's replaceable. It seems like there's like a screw lock in there. I'm not exactly sure, and I don't feel like untwisting it. But like, look at that. The red to tan design of that tail. That's really cool. You got a single joint back here. Nice wide joint, so it's gonna get some good action there. And it's silent other than that, so you're causing major disruption on the surface. Just really cool bait to have. Can't wait to fish this thing. I absolutely love it, but nothing to compare to, so we're gonna dive on into something else. Got 2 more categories for you guys. The weird, that's right, we're like, let's just grab something, Paul called it the hoax category, but it's like the gimmicky, super gimmicky baits. So we grabbed 2 of those. And then we also grabbed the poppers. So let's do the poppers. We'll roll out on these crazy baits. Mega Bass versus Yo-Zuri. These are both poppers, similar design, exact same purpose of use. We got the Pop X, and then we've got from Yo-Zuri the 3D RX. So these are the same general size. The Yo-Zuri is 1/4 ounce, 2 5/8 inches. Mega Bass is 64 millimeters, whatever, probably the same. 1/4 ounce as well. Who did it best? Look at that. So Yo-Zuri going for more of the straight, lean and mean kind of popper design. Reminds me more of like a KVD popper or something from Strike King. And then that Mega Bass, this body, we got pretty darn close to with the Monster Bass Mad Max. So Mad Max is actually a little bit bigger than the Pop X. Similar mouth design, full on like rectangle shape to the Monster Bass. More of a flat to kind of an arch mouth that you get with the Pop X, which is interesting. And then you get the tied rear treble on both of those. The Pop X went for it on that rear treble. Check that out, man. Got the nice feather, streamer material, very well tied on the rear of that. Something you would expect from a bait of this cost, this price category. And that perch design being flashy, man. Ooh, that's the juice. Also says Mega Bass Pop X with the 1/4 ounce up on top in case you forget the weight. So that is a very nice feature. I like it a lot. Then we got that Yo-Zuri. Actually says all that info up on top as well. Not the weight, but you know, generally the size, which is cool. Little orange hint in the mouth. Nice design. You know, I mean, it's a pop. It sure do be a popper. Very interesting rear tied treble here. So they went for just purely streamer material, no feathering whatsoever. I think it's kind of cool. It's something unique. Here's the cost difference. Mega Bass, $17.99 for this popper. I really hope I don't lose that. Yo-Zuri, $7.99. I mean, I'm sure the Strike Kings are probably about that price too, maybe $9.99. But look at that. So your sub $10 popper versus your just under $20 popper. We'll see how that goes. So let's wrap this up with the crazy baits, the hoax, the gimmicks, the nonsense. We found a couple of fun ones. So the 13 Fishing Pathfinder was actually on clearance. That bait was $4.97, making it the cheapest bait that we got today. And it was normally, I believe, around $17. So that's gonna be interesting. The 3D Savage Gear Fruck, the Fruck Duck, literally what it's called, which was $10.99. So the funny thing about this category is this is technically the more expensive bait at base MSRP price, but because it's on clearance, this is the cheap bait, this is the expensive bait. So this one could go either way. I have no idea. It's a hoax category, so who, gosh dang, cares? If we catch on either of these, I wanna be super pumped. You guys know how I feel about ducks as well. And Savage Gear makes a lot of friggin' ducks, including the Fruck, which is a frog duck, if you haven't figured it out yet. So the Fruck has that hollow body frog design, the little head, which gives it a unique walking action. And this one comes with these little legs, which are most certainly getting ripped off in 5 seconds. These legs are horrendous. Also, I don't know what this material is coming out the bottom there too, but there's no way these legs survive more than one fish. Remains to be seen. So that's $10. It's not even a cheap frog. $10.99. Good grief. Is it really? Oh my God, $10.99? Why did I do that? I hate ducks. I'm a fool. Very interested to see what this Pathfinder's like. It is a hybrid body bait, so it is both a hard bait and a hollow body bait, which sounds absurd. Absolutely just ridiculous. So it's floating 3/4 ounce. I just opened this thing up. I already hate it. I absolutely hate this bait. Swinging hook design that reduces leverage and increases fish landing percentage. Okay, so it's like a free swinging frog hook. It sure is interesting. However, I hate it. So 3/4 of an ounce, can bomb this thing out there. It's got a BKK frog hook. That's great. So I do like that part about it. Boom, look at that. And we got it in this galaxy color, which is absurd. It looks like a gosh dang UFO or whatever we call them now. But you got this like clear, hard body front. So this is hard body, right? To a hollow body rear section. What the heck is this bait? It's got a button up here, which isn't really a button. It's kind of like the plug that you get on your frogs. It's just on top. And then you have this free swinging hook. Look at that, comes out. And it's magnetized. There's a magnet right there, you guys. So you can open this up and it just snaps right back in there. So if I got a fish fighting, the idea is they get hooked here and they're just fighting like this. And my poor little bait is not getting injured, hopefully. We'll see. Wow. I don't know. Walking baits definitely work. I don't know if this is like a walking bait or a frog. Technically both, I guess. I have no words for that bait. It definitely belongs in the hoax category because I don't get it. But there you go. Just went through everything. Your cheap versus your expensive. We grabbed a whole bunch of different things. Tried to do as many different brands as we could. Didn't want to just be all Megabass versus everybody else. So we got some Teckle in there. Got some brands I'd never heard of before, like Nasheen, for example. And Evergreen, of course, another great brand that I do know of. But all these expensive type baits that we see, and we're always wondering. If you guys are like me, you've seen these brands in the store, maybe on TW, and you've looked at it and you've said, really Megabass, $16 for a frog? Why would I do that? So we aim to find out, is it worth it? Should you be spending that money? Do these baits really perform so much better than these cheap baits that it's just worth it? I don't know. Jury's out until we test it out in the water. So stay tuned for that video. Stay subscribed if you like this stuff. And let us know in the comments below. What do you think? Cheap versus expensive? Who wins? What's your favorite cheap bait? What's your favorite expensive bait where you're like, yes, I will spend the money for this thing. It's worth it every single time. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you on the next video.